Thank you for watching QTV with the news. My name is SUMBWE. We take a look at stories making headlines. Zambia's external debt has increased to 10.23 billion United States dollars as at June 2019. The Drug Enforcement Commission has arrested 2 Chinese nationals for money laundering activities, and government says the Constitution of Zambia Bill 2019 will not be withdrawn. And our details in our news. Zambia's external debt has increased to 10.23 billion United States dollars as at June 2019 from 10.18 billion United States dollars as at end of March 2019. Speaking during a media briefing on the performance of the economy for the second quarter of 2019 in Lusaka, Finance Minister Wale Ngandu says the domestic debt in terms of securities and bonds as at end of June 2019 was 60.3 billion kwacha, showing an increase from the end of March position of 58.3 billion kwacha. Dr. Ngandu says the stock guarantees is currently 1.3 billion United States dollars, unchanged from the end of March 2019 and end of December 2018 position. He has also disclosed that during the quarter, subscription rates for government securities declined relative to the first quarter of 2019 due to liquidity challenges, perception and exit of foreign participants in the market. Meanwhile, Dr. Ngandu has projected an economic growth in the range of 2 to 3% in 2019, which is gradually expected to increase in 2020 and the medium term. On the budget performance, Dr. Ngandu reveals that total revenues and grants amounted to 32.6 billion kwacha, which is 8.31% above the projection of 30.1 billion kwacha, while total expenditures were above target by 6.4% at 46.8 billion kwacha.
As government has taken measures for management of project disbursements, debt cancellation and rescheduling to bring down deficits to sustainable levels. This is in line with the SADC macro convergence regional targets that we have agreed to. This will be supported by measures to postpone and cancel some contracted but not disbursed loans, which is in line with the directive by the President from the Special Cabinet meeting of 27th of May 2019. This is an activity which I intend to actively engage my fellow cabinet ministers on so that we can implement it with this. Debt position. The external debt stock as at the end of June 2019 was $10.23 billion compared to $10.18 billion at the end of March 2019. So there's been some increase there. The stock of guarantees is currently at 1.3 billion, which is exactly the number we had at the end of March 2019 and at the end of December 2018, meaning that we are keeping that number where it should be, and the idea now is to begin to reduce it. The stock of guarantees is currently at 1.3 billion. Oh, sorry, I've said that. Domestic debt in terms of securities and bonds as at the end of June 2019 was 60.3 billion, showing an increase from the end March position of 58.3 billion.
And Dr. Ngandu has observed the need to commence implementing a calculated strategy towards dismantling arrears to ease liquidity in the market, improve financial sector performance, get businesses to operate smoothly and reduce lending rates to get the economy back on a higher growth rate. And giving an update on the austerity measures, the finance minister says his ministry has engaged different ministries to agree on projects to be slowed down, rescoped, cancelled or postponed with a target to free at least 500 million United States dollars annually over the medium term.
Next is to curtail PE's related expenditures. These are personal involvement related expenditures. Commutation of leave days has been restricted to cases where resources are available, while all government officials are obliged to take leave. Because it's nice, it's good to take leave. And everybody is encouraged to do so. Last is suspension of both foreign and domestic travel for top government officials to ensure that cabinet measures mean nobody will travel, but it just means that a lot of unnecessary travel has to stop. And only those that are essential must take place. So this is the measure that we will implement, and I hope by implementing it, we will be able to curb some of what I consider unnecessary expenditure.
The Drug Enforcement Commission, through its Anti-Money Laundering Investigations Unit in Osaka, has arrested and jointly charged 2 Chinese nationals for money laundering activities. Commission Public Relations Officer Teresa Katongo says Li Hongsheng, 29, a businessman of Olympia in Osaka, has been arrested and jointly charged with Weng Jingchang, 36, a director of Jingchang Sheng Investment Limited, for theft, unauthorized access to data, and money laundering activities contrary to the laws of Zambia. Particulars of the offense are that the 2 suspects, on days unknown, but between 1st May 2019 and 10th July 2019, jointly and whilst acting together with other persons unknown and with intent to defraud, had in their possession electronic devices which included 5 cloned ATM cards. Ms. Katongo says that the devices were used to conduct fraudulent business transactions on various point-of-sale POS machines belonging to known banks. She says at the time of apprehension, Ling Hongsheng was also found with devices, namely 2 point-of-sale machines from known banks, cards readers and card rewriters, which he used in cloning cards. Ms. Katongo says one of the 2 point-of-sale machines was issued to Jingchang Sheng Investment Limited, a company in which Wing is a director. The 2 suspects further directly or indirectly engaged in business transactions, knowing that the funds were proceeds of fraudulent ATM transactions. The suspects are expected to appear in court soon. Government says it will not withdraw the Constitution Amendment Bill 2019 from Parliament. Justice Minister Given Lubinda says it is not for anyone to call for the total abandonment of the impending process to amend the Republican Constitution. Mr. Lubinda has told QTV News that presentation of the Constitution Amendment Bill 2019 for first reading in Parliament will therefore go ahead. He says it is only when the bill has been taken to Parliament can those who have interrogated the bill make their views known by making proposals to members of Parliament. And Mr. Lubinda says there is nothing wrong for any institution or individuals that took part in National Dialogue Forum NDF to take a different view from what was adopted at the forum. He says government does not expect to have consensus of all the delegates at the NDF on the provisions of the Constitution Amendment Bill 2019.
After the 21st of July, the Constitution Amendment Bill that was gazetted on the 21st of June will be presented to Parliament for first reading. And people who have interrogated that bill will go to Parliament and make their views known to Parliament for members of Parliament to take heed of their proposals. It is not meant for anyone to call for the total abandonment of the process. There are many provisions that came from the NDF, and those provisions, by the way, were not provisions from the government. There was no government white paper. All those provisions were as a result of the discussions of the 400 plus people who attended the National Dialogue Forum. Where did they come from? They came from 2 places. One, from stakeholders who made submissions to the Ministry of Justice, and 2, from the Siavonga meeting of political parties, where even Mr. Hagainde Ejirema was represented by his people. There were people who attended that Siavonga meeting from all political parties. They're the ones who came up with a lot of those ideas, even including some of the issues that Mr. Hagainde is complaining about, came from the Siavonga political parties meeting.
3 police officers and 5 Tazara employees have been arrested in connection with the theft of over 88 tons of copper concentrates worth over 1.2 million kwacha from Tazara wagons at the railway firm's terminus in Kapirimposhi district. Zanis reports that police in the area have launched a manhunt for the other suspect who is on the run. When contacted for a comment on the matter, management at Tazara offices in Kapirimposhi remained mute over the incident, which is said to have happened on 3rd July 2019. However, Tazara Regional Manager Kambani Ndlovu told Central Province Permanent Secretary Bernard Chomba, who conducted an impromptu visit to the terminus on a fact-finding mission, that the copper concentrate belonging to Impala Mining Company Limited One of the clients of Tazara was among the consignment laden on 20 separate wagons booked for transportation to the port of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania when the theft occurred. The suspects are alleged to have used a forklifter to hoist and remove the bags of copper concentrate, which they later replaced with similar bags containing soil to dupe authorities at the railway company. Meanwhile, Central Province Permanent Secretary Bernard Chomba has expressed concern at the case of theft of cargo from Tazara wagons involving employees at the railway company. Mr. Chomba observed that cases of theft of cargo entrusted in the custody of Tazara had potential to dent the image of the railway company as a preferred mode of transportation of heavy and bulk cargo. The permanent secretary, who was locked in a meeting with Tazara management and some employees, representatives for close to 2 hours, called for improved security at the railway company to build and maintain faith and confidence in its clientele. Residents of Kawama East Township in Fulera District on the Copperbelt have demolished a police post following a rumor that a ritual killer was being held at the station. Copperbelt Police Commissioner Charity Katanga, who visited the scene, disclosed that the residents routed around 19 hours on Tuesday, July 16th, after word went round that police had apprehended a person in possession of human remains and was being detained at the police station. The news reports that Ms. Katanga said the residents then went on rampage, causing massive damage to property at the police post. She disclosed that the residents also burnt one vehicle which was parked at the station to ashes, while 2 other vehicles were almost damaged. Ms. Katongo explained that the residents overpowered the 2 police officers who were manning the police post, and that in ensuing confusion, all suspects who were in the cells escaped. The Copperbelt police chief lamented that it was unfortunate that the residents caused so much damage due to the baseless rumor. And Mufulira District Commissioner Hilda Kawesha has called on the media to be truthful and verify information before airing it to the public. Ms. Kawesha says she is aware that a named radio station had a live broadcast earlier talking about rumored ritual killings in the district, which she claimed sparked alarm among residents. Agriculture Minister Michael Katambo says that the distribution of farming inputs for the 2019-2020 farming season will kick off in the first week of September 2019. Delivering a ministerial statement in Parliament on preparations for the 2019-2020 FISIP program, Mr. Katambo said the 1.4 billion kwacha program, which is targeted to benefit 1 million farmers, will be implemented using the district input supply and e-voucher system. He says his ministry will implement a deliberate policy of promoting the growing of maize in areas that have been receiving relatively good rainfall in the recent years by giving the farmers more inputs in an effort to meet national demand. Mr. Katambo has also disclosed that farmers in the areas that are prone to prolonged dry spells will be supported through the e-voucher system to help them select climate-smart agriculture inputs.
We've noted that continuously giving huge volumes of fertilizers to farmers in areas that have been experiencing prolonged dry spells is not serving the farmers well. Therefore, there's need to support farmers in areas that experienced prolonged dry spells with a flexible input support system that allows them to respond to the challenges of climate change. Farmers in areas that are prone to prolonged dry spells will therefore be supported through the e-voucher or cardless redeeming modality. This will provide the farmer with an opportunity to select climate-smart agricultural inputs. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry is also aware that farmers in the parts of the country that received relatively good rainfall in recent years deserve to be supported with inputs that will help them successfully grow our staple crop maize and other crops. The Ministry will therefore implement a deliberate policy of promoting the growing of maize in these areas in order to meet the national demand and to have a renewed focus on the export market demand for agriculture, especially in the Democratic Republic of Congo. These two approaches, Mr. Speaker, to the Farmer Input Support Program are expected to leverage the cooperative advantage that in the different regions of the country have. It is through this understanding.
And Mr. Katambo says his ministry is constantly engaging with the Ministry of Finance to resolve problems related to agro-dealers and transporters' payments. He says to this effect, the Ministry of Finance released 50 million kwacha towards the dismantling of debt owed to transporters.
We owe about 65 million for transporters who are contracted in the program. And like I said, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance has promised and has rather made a commitment that before we implement the next farming season, all those that were contracted by the Minister of Agriculture and the program will be paid. So the Minister of Agriculture, in liaison with the Minister of Finance, we are committed to settle the date that we owe the different suppliers, including our agri dealers, on time before the engagement of the next agricultural farming season. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Government, through the Office of the Vice President, has released 1,500 metric tons of relief food to Southern Province for the month of July. Minister in the Office of the Vice President, Sylvia Chadikosa, has told Parliament during the question for oral answer session that the distribution of the 1,500 tons of mealie meal will commence next week. Ms. Chadikosa says this is in addition to the 1,500 metric tons of relief food that was released in June 2019, which has since been distributed. She has reiterated that government is aware of the hunger situation in Southern Province and is already distributing relief food to affected people. Ms. Chadikosa has since urged members of Parliament to closely work with their district commissioners in the distribution process to ensure that there is transparency and no one is left behind.
The government is aware of the hunger situation in all affected districts. In response, government through the DMNU has been distributing relief food to affected districts. In Southern Province, the government released 1,500 metric tons of relief food in June 2019, and another 1,500 metric tons has been released for July 2019 for all districts, including Kankata. In C, the distribution of the July 2019 consignment will commence week starting 23rd July 2019. Thank you.
Indeni Petroleum Refinery will no longer have annual routine shutdowns to facilitate maintenance works. Board Chairperson Yamfam Kanga has told Q News that starting this year, the refinery will be omitting a year before it can shut down for maintenance works. Mr. Mkanga says that this means that Indeni will not shut down this year until 2020. He says that the idea is to cut down on the costs that come with the shutdown as well as increase the refinery's throughput.
Throughout last year, we thought we should come up with a way of ensuring that we have a system of maintenance that will be able to help out in terms of not having an annual turnaround every time where you have an annual shutdown every year. But we said we should do one shutdown and then omit the other year and do another one after that year. That means this year we're not going to have that annual shutdown, but we're going to have it next year. So with the maintenance programs that have been put in place by our management, we'll be able to achieve that.
Okay.
What that means is that we can increase our throughput in this year, and then we can reduce on other costs and ensure that we will be able to operate sustainably.
The police service in Northwestern Province have arrested former Zambezi East Member of Parliament Sarah Saifwanda for breach of peace following the incident that happened in Zambezi district on Saturday. This was during the delimitation meetings that was organized by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ. Zanis reports that Northwestern Province Commissioner of Police Hudson Namachila has told a media briefing in Solwezi that Ms. Saifwanda was arrested in the presence of her lawyer. Mr. Namachila says Ms. Saifwanda has since been given police bond up to Thursday next week when she is expected to appear in court. Meanwhile, none of the recommendations of the report by the technical committee set up to look into the historical Lunda-Lubale conflict have been implemented. Minister of Chiefs and Traditional Affairs Lawrence Sichalwe has disclosed that the report is still with President Edgar Lungu, who in 2015 appointed a 7-man traditional technical committee. Mr. Sichalwe says he cannot therefore comment on what should be done to resolve the historical conflict between the Lunda and Lubale-speaking people of Zambezi district. He has also told Q News that his ministry has not yet received a comprehensive report on the latest incident in which the two tribes recently clashed over the delimitation exercise in the district.
I'm not saying no action can be taken. I said I do not wish to comment on something I've not been given a comprehensive report. What happened over the weekend, I have not received any report. So how do I comment? And you may wish to know that there was a commission that was instituted, and the commission report is with the president. So I cannot talk of those issues which are in the commission report, which have not been actioned. And that report is not with me. It's with the principal who instituted that commission. So I cannot talk on behalf of my principal, who should be still looking at the commission report.
UNIP President Tilienji Kaunda says the Electoral Commission of Zambia should be allowed to operate independently. Speaking during a media briefing at the party headquarters in Lusaka, Mr. Kaunda has noted that most of the disputes in the country, especially among political parties, are because the ECZ has not been allowed to operate freely. He has also stressed the need to have a mature political system and avoid the trend of always prosecuting former presidents. Mr. Kaunda says this is what is taking the country backwards instead of focusing on other important developmental issues.
And doing the right thing. Where have we gone wrong? How can you have a constitution that serves all Zambians? How can you have a constitution that is not targeted at one individual? How can you have a constitution that will last 200 years, 300 years, working for us as a republic? When we come to elections, we said we want one man, one vote.
Yes.
Our freedom fighters were fighting for one man, one vote.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, every election there are quarrels. No, you stole my vote, you stole my vote. The only way to solve this is that we must have transparency. We agreed in 1991, some of you are children here, you don't remember. We agreed in 1991 between NIP, the MND, and the churches.
Speaking at the same briefing, UNIP Lusaka Province Chairman Alan Malao has castigated those causing confusion in the former ruling party by calling on the leadership to step down. Mr. Malao says most of those calling on the party leadership to step down are not even members of the party.
It should be made clear that despite UNIP being the beacon of peace, we certainly will not allow any form of intimidation from disgruntled individuals that have taken advantage of our much cherished peace by openly insulting and threatening our party president and the party leadership through the media. We find this activity to be dehumanizing, unlawful, and has the potential to cause a breach of peace in the country if left unchecked. We wish to take this opportunity to call upon the Zambia Police Command in Lusaka Province to quickly move in and arrest these wrongdoers that are contravening the Public Order Act with impunity.
Meanwhile, Authentic Advocates for Justice and Democracy has advised UNIP President Tilienji Kaunda to step aside for a new leadership because democracy demands so. Organization Executive Director John Mulenga says UNIP, being a founding party, must be exemplary in the way it manages its affairs. Mr. Mulenga stresses that Mr. Kaunda's departure is long overdue.
Even if Tilienji means what shall we eat, he had enough of UNIP and he should let it go. His father was Keke Wamiayaya, but democracy cannot allow Tilienji Kaunda to be Wamiayaya. UNIP must put its house in order. We advise UNIP to usher in a new leadership. We are appealing to the Chief Registrar of Society to guide UNIP and bring sanity to the organization. Tilienji's departure from UNIP is long overdue, and it should bear in mind that UNIP was registered as a political party to offer leadership, not a business entity. Leadership is about handing over and taking over. We are appealing to the Office of Chief Registrar of Society to educate political party leaders on the importance of good governance and intra-party democracy. The Registrar of Society of Zambia should find a way to penalize.
Patriots for Economic Progress PP President Sean Tembo says President Edgar Lungu has a limited pool of members of parliament to reshuffle or replace ministers. Mr. Tembo says this explains why President Lungu has twice revoked the nominations of nominated members of parliament to pave way for the appointment of suitably qualified persons to cabinet positions outside parliament. He tells QTV News that his party therefore still maintains its argument for a provision in the Republican Constitution that allows the appointment of ministers outside Parliament.
Of course, it would be an idea worth considering to reshuffle the entire cabinet, but then the question is who would you replace the current ministers with? Because the president has got limited latitude when it comes to nominating members of parliament. Already we've seen that for him to appoint Dr. Wariangandu, he had to basically revoke the nomination of Mumbipidi as a member of parliament, which basically adds to our earlier argument that cabinet needed to be basically selected from outside of parliament. If that provision of the draft constitution had survived, then we would not be struggling in terms of who to appoint to which ministry. But as the case is at the moment, obviously President Lungu's options are very limited because in our view,
the Young Women in Action YWA has called on government to ensure stiff punishment is meted out on the Mumba head teacher who is reported to have raped a pupil. YWA National Coordinator Harriet Chibuta says schools are known to be a place where children are safe and protected when they are away from their parents. Hence, the action of the head teacher in question is very disturbing. Ms. Chibuta says the named head teacher should be punished in order to deter would-be offenders. She explains that such shameful acts are denting the image of the teaching profession, hence the need to treat the matter very seriously.
We also call upon the unions that look at the conduct of teachers to just, ensure that all teachers are worthy of looking after these children, because they're supposed to be parents and not perpetrators of violence. So to all the other teachers that may have this kind of thinking, really, we say we're going to continue pushing until the law follows you. We are not going to stop talking about it. We'll continue talking to our girls, our young women, as well as the authorities involved to just continue condemning and also seeing to it that the perpetrators are punished.
The Patriotic Front has been commended for being responsive to government austerity measures by formally objecting the reintroduction of deputy ministers in government. Zambian DNA spokesperson SUMBWE Mulema says his organization is elated that the ruling party has demonstrated commitment to ensuring that Zambia has a lean government. Mr. Mulema has told QTV News that Zambian DNA is also happy that the Patriotic Front has rejected the proposal to have in the Republican Constitution a provision for a coalition government. He says Zambia should continue having a president that draws his mandate directly from the people.
The PF has demonstrated a tacit commitment to a lean government by rejecting the proposal for the introduction of the once abolished position of deputy ministers. We also agree with them that the proposal of election of members of parliament via a mixed proportional representation system will foster inclusion for marginalized voices. Most of all, we commend President Lungu and the PF government for their commitment to a people-driven constitution-making process, as this has shamed their critics who have been peddling falsehoods against them on the pretext that the NDF resolutions were a predetermined outcome in favor of the ruling party, when in fact not.
To end the news, we recap on stories making headlines. Zambia's external debt has increased to 10.23 billion United States dollars as of June 2019. The Drug Enforcement Commission has arrested 2 Chinese nationals for money laundering activities. And the government says the Constitution of Zambia Bill 2019 will not